Elena Mitchell stood in her bedroom doorway watching her husband Ryan pack his gym bag, and she knew with absolute certainty that he wasn't going to the gym. She'd known for weeks now, maybe longer if she was honest with herself. The way he tilted his phone away when she walked by, the sudden interest in cologne, the late meetings that somehow always fell on Wednesdays. But it wasn't just suspicion anymore. 2 days ago, she'd found a receipt in his jacket pocket for a restaurant they'd never been to together, dated on a night he said he was working late. The hardest part wasn't the lying, it was how good he'd gotten at it. Before we dive deeper into this story, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Trust me, you'll want to stay until the end of this one. Elena had spent 3 sleepless nights trying to figure out what to do. Confront him? Hire a private investigator? Her best friend Jenna had suggested couples therapy, but Elena knew that wouldn't work. Ryan would just charm his way through it like he charmed his way through everything. He was an account manager at a marketing firm, and his entire job was making people believe whatever he wanted them to believe. She'd watched him smooth talk clients, bosses, even her own parents. He was good at creating narratives. So she decided to create one of her own. "I'm thinking about taking that trip to see my sister," Elena said casually, folding a sweater she'd picked up from the chair. "The one in Portland. She's been asking me to visit for months." Ryan didn't even look up from his phone. "Yeah? When were you thinking?" "Next week maybe. Tuesday through Sunday. 5 days." Now he looked up, and Elena saw something flicker across his face. Was it excitement? Relief? He covered it quickly with what looked like concern. "That's kind of sudden, isn't it? What about work?" "I have the vacation days, and honestly, I need a break. Things have been so stressful lately." "Sure, babe, whatever you need." He kissed her forehead, grabbed his gym bag, and headed toward the door. "I'll probably be late tonight. Johnson wants to go over the Patterson account." Elena waited until she heard his car pull out of the driveway before she let herself exhale. Then she pulled out her phone and called Jenna. "I'm doing it," Elena said when Jenna picked up. "Doing what?" "The test. I'm telling him I'm going to Portland, but I'm staying here." There was a long pause. "Elena, are you sure about this?" "I need to know, Jen. Not think, not suspect. No." Jenna sighed. "Okay. But you can't stay at your house. If you're going to do this, you need to be somewhere he won't accidentally see you. You can stay at my place." "Thank you." "And Elena, whatever you find out, we deal with it together. Promise me." "I promise." The next few days moved in slow motion. Elena booked a refundable plane ticket so the confirmation would show up in their shared email. She talked about the trip at dinner, mentioned what she was planning to pack, asked Ryan if he needed her to pick up anything specific from Portland. He played along perfectly, even suggesting she try that coffee place her sister had raved about. On Tuesday morning, Elena dragged her suitcase down the stairs and stood in the kitchen where Ryan was making coffee. "You sure you're going to be okay?" she asked. "I'll survive 5 days without you," he said, pulling her into a hug. "Text me when you land." She wanted to scream. She wanted to shake him and demand the truth. Instead, she smiled and said, "I will. Love you." "Love you too." Elena drove to Jenna's apartment across town and hauled her suitcase inside. Jenna had already cleared out half her closet and stocked the fridge with Elena's favorite foods. "Command center is ready," she said, gesturing to her laptop set up on the dining table. "I still think you should hire someone to do this."
"I need to see it myself," Elena said. "I can't know through someone else's eyes." That evening, Elena sent Ryan a text from Portland with a photo she'd pulled from her sister's Instagram. "Look at this view. Miss you already." His response came 10 minutes later. "Beautiful. Have fun. Don't worry about anything here." At 9 p.m., Elena got in her car and drove to their house. Their neighborhood was quiet, tree-lined, the kind of place where people minded their own business. She parked 2 streets over and walked back, staying in the shadows. The house was dark, except for the living room. Through the window, she could see Ryan on the couch, laptop open, beer on the coffee table. He looked relaxed, normal. She stayed for an hour, watching, feeling ridiculous and heartbroken in equal measure. Maybe she was wrong. Maybe the receipt was innocent. Maybe she was destroying her marriage over paranoia. Then Ryan's phone rang. She couldn't hear the conversation, but she saw his face change, saw him smile in a way he hadn't smiled at her in months, saw him run his hand through his hair, that gesture he always made when he was trying to impress someone. He talked for 20 minutes, then got up and disappeared upstairs. Elena went back to Jenna's apartment and cried until her chest hurt. Wednesday started normal. Ryan texted her good morning, sent a picture of the breakfast he'd made himself, burnt eggs and 2 dark toast. She sent back a laughing emoji and a photo of the fancy brunch her sister had supposedly ordered. But Wednesday night was different. Elena arrived at the house at 7 p.m. and immediately knew something had changed. There was another car in the driveway, a silver Audi she didn't recognize. The living room lights were on, and through the window she could see Ryan and a woman. The woman was young, maybe late 20s, with dark hair pulled into a sleek ponytail. She wore jeans and a white blouse, and she was laughing at something Ryan had said. They were sitting on Elena's couch, and there were wine glasses on the coffee table. Elena's hands shook as she pulled out her phone and started recording. She filmed them for 5 minutes, watching as Ryan refilled the woman's wine glass, as they leaned closer together, as the woman touched his arm in a way that was definitely not professional. She drove back to Jenna's in a fog. Jenna took one look at her face and pulled her into a hug. "I have video," Elena whispered. "There's someone in our house." "Okay," Jenna said firmly. "Okay, tomorrow we're calling Tyler." Tyler West was Jenna's older brother, a former cop who now works in private security. Elena had met him a handful of times at family gatherings. He was the kind of person who noticed everything and said little. He came to Jenna's apartment Thursday morning with a laptop bag and a serious expression. "Show me what you have," he said. Elena played the video. Tyler watched without comment, then asked to see it again. "Do you know who she is?" he asked. "No, I've never seen her before." "All right, I need you to tell me everything. When did you first suspect something was wrong?" Elena walked him through it all, the phone behavior, the receipts, the late nights, the way Ryan had seemed almost eager when she mentioned the Portland trip. Tyler took notes on his phone. "I'm going to do some digging. In the meantime, I need you to not confront him, not yet. If he's hiding something bigger than just an affair, we need to document everything first." "Bigger than an affair?" Elena's voice cracked. "What could be bigger?" "I don't know yet, but trust me on this. Keep playing your role. Stay in Portland as far as he knows, and whatever happens, don't tip him off that you know." Elena spent Thursday and Friday in a strange, suspended state. She texted Ryan like normal, sent pictures from Portland that her sister helped stage, talked to him on the phone, and somehow managed to sound like a wife who was just missing her husband, not a woman whose entire world was fracturing. Tyler called Friday afternoon. The woman's name is Kira Bennett. She works at Ryan's firm, started about 8 months ago. 8 months? Elena felt sick. Are they sleeping together?
I don't know for sure yet, but yeah, probably. But there's something else. I did some checking on your financial accounts. What kind of checking? Elena, has Ryan had you sign any documents lately? Anything related to property or assets? Her mind went blank. I don't think so. Why? I'm gonna need you to come home early from this trip. Sunday, like you planned. Don't change anything. But when you get home, I need you to start looking through paperwork. Anything financial, anything legal. Can you do that? Tyler, you're scaring me. Good. You should be scared. But right now, I need you to trust me and stay calm. Play this out. And Elena, make copies of everything you find before he knows you're looking. If you're feeling this story, hit that like button and drop a comment. What would you do in Elena's situation? And don't forget to subscribe because this is just the beginning. Elena came home Sunday afternoon exactly as planned, pulling into the driveway at 3 p.m. with her suitcase and a carefully practiced smile. Ryan met her at the door with flowers, yellow roses that she used to love before everything became a performance. "How was Portland?" he asked, taking her suitcase. "Good, really good. I needed that." The lies came easier now, and that scared her more than anything. She was becoming like him. They had dinner together that night, pasta that Ryan made while telling her about his week. He was a good liar, she'd give him that. He talked about work meetings and a movie he'd watched and how he'd finally fixed that loose cabinet hinge she'd been nagging him about. He never mentioned Kira, never mentioned wine on the couch or another person's laugh filling their living room. Elena waited until Ryan left for work Monday morning, then she started searching. She began with the filing cabinet in the home office, pulling out folders labeled taxes, insurance, mortgage, investment accounts. Everything looked normal at first, their joint checking account statements, the mortgage payments, the usual bills. Then she found the folder marked property documents. Inside was a deed transfer form dated 3 months ago. Elena read it twice, then 3 times, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. The house, their house that they'd bought together 5 years ago, had been transferred into Ryan's name alone, just his name. Her signature was at the bottom of the form, right next to his, except she'd never signed it. Elena's hands went cold. She pulled out her phone and took pictures of every page, then carefully put everything back exactly as she'd found it. She went through the rest of the files with shaking hands. Bank statements for an account she didn't know existed, credit card bills for a card she'd never seen, and another document, this one transferring ownership of Ryan's investment portfolio into a trust that listed only him as beneficiary. Her signature was on that one, too. She called Tyler immediately. "He forged my signature multiple times, on the house deed, on financial documents. Tyler, what do I do?" "Don't touch anything else. I'm calling someone, a lawyer. Her name is Patricia Morgan, and she specializes in cases like this. Can you meet us this afternoon?" "Cases like what?" "Financial fraud, asset hiding. Usually happens before a divorce." The word hung in the air between them. Divorce. Elena sat down hard on the office chair. Of course, Ryan wasn't just having an affair, he was preparing to leave her with nothing. Patricia Morgan's office was downtown in a glass building that made Elena feel small, but Patricia herself was warm, direct, in her mid-50s with sharp eyes and a firm handshake. "Show me what you found," she said, and Elena spread out the photos on her phone. Patricia examined each one carefully. "This is good documentation, and you're certain these aren't your signatures." "I've never seen these documents before in my life." "Okay, here's what we're dealing with. Your husband has systematically removed your name from major assets while forging your signature to make it appear consensual. This isn't just infidelity, Elena. This is fraud. It's criminal." Elena felt the room tilt slightly. "What happens now?" "Now we build a case, but carefully. Tyler was right to tell you not to confront Ryan yet. If he knows you're aware of what he's done, he could destroy evidence or move assets we don't even know about yet. I need you to keep acting normal. I know that's hard, but it's crucial." "How am I supposed to act normal when I know he's stealing from me?" Patricia leaned forward. "By remembering that every day you stay quiet is a day we get stronger. Every piece of evidence you find is ammunition. And Elena, we're going to need you to keep documenting everything. His movements, his communications, anything unusual. Can you do that?" Elena thought about the woman in her house, the forged signatures, the elaborate lies. "Yes, I can do that." That night at dinner, Ryan asked about her day, and Elena told him about a work project that didn't exist. She asked about his day, and he told her about a client meeting that probably didn't happen. They were 2 actors in a play neither of them acknowledged they were performing. After Ryan fell asleep, Elena lay awake staring at the ceiling. The man next to her, the one she'd married 7 years ago, was a stranger.
Or maybe he'd always been a stranger and she'd just been too in love to notice. The next 2 weeks were the longest of Elena's life. She went to work, came home, had dinner with Ryan, and pretended everything was fine while systematically photographing every document in their house. Tyler installed monitoring software on their home computer that tracked Ryan's online activity. Patricia filed preliminary paperwork to freeze their assets the moment Elena was ready to make a move. And Elena watched. She watched Ryan text someone constantly, the phone always tilted away. She watched him leave the house Wednesday nights claiming yoga class, a new habit that had started conveniently during her Portland trip. She watched him smile at her across the dinner table while planning her financial destruction behind her back. On a Thursday afternoon, Elena was working from home when she heard Ryan's car in the driveway. He wasn't supposed to be home until 6. She quickly closed the financial documents she'd been photographing and pulled up a work spreadsheet just as he walked through the door. "Hey, what are you doing home?" she asked, keeping her voice light. "Left my laptop. Big presentation this afternoon." He headed upstairs without kissing her hello. Elena waited, listening to him move around in the bedroom above. Then she heard his voice, muffled but distinct. He was on the phone. She crept to the bottom of the stairs. I know. Just a few more weeks," Ryan was saying. "The paperwork's almost done. She has no idea. Once everything's finalized, we can stop sneaking around." Silence while the other person spoke. "Of course I'm sure. She's completely clueless, still playing the devoted wife. It's almost too easy." He laughed, and the sound made Elena's stomach turn. More silence. "The house is already in my name. The investments are protected. Her lawyer isn't going to find anything because there's nothing to find. I've been planning this for months. By the time she figures out what's happening, it'll be too late." Elena backed away from the stairs, her heart hammering so hard she thought Ryan might hear it. She made it to the kitchen just as he came down, laptop bag in hand. "Found it," he said cheerfully. "See you tonight, babe." She waited until his car disappeared down the street before she called Patricia. "He's talking about finalizing paperwork. He thinks I know anything. Patricia, how much time do we have?" "Probably not much. If he's getting ready to file for divorce, we need to move first. Can you come to my office tomorrow? Bring Tyler. It's time to go on offense."
Friday afternoon, Elena sat in Patricia's conference room with Tyler and Jenna flanking her like bodyguards. Patricia had 3 folders laid out on the table. "Here's what we know," Patricia began. "Ryan has transferred the house into his name, moved investment accounts, opened credit cards you don't know about, and likely has been siphoning money from your joint accounts into separate accounts for months, all with forged signatures. We have documentation of all of it." "What's our next move?" Tyler asked. "We file for emergency relief, restraining orders on all assets, forensic accounting, and we do it Monday before he can file first. Elena, this is going to get ugly. He's going to be blindsided, and he's going to be angry. Are you prepared for that?" Elena thought about the man upstairs laughing about how clueless she was, thought about Kira sitting on her couch drinking wine, thought about 7 years of marriage that apparently meant nothing. "I'm ready," she said. That weekend was surreal. Elena had dinner with Ryan on Friday night, went shopping with him on Saturday, attended a barbecue at his colleague's house on Sunday where she shook hands with Kira and made small talk while knowing exactly who this woman was. Kira was younger than Elena had thought from the video, 26, maybe 27, with an easy smile and confident handshake. She touched Ryan's arm when she talked, and he leaned into it like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You must be Elena," Kira said. "Ryan talks about you all the time." "Nice to finally meet you," Elena replied, and meant it in ways Kira could possibly understand. On the drive home, Ryan said, "Kira's doing great work on the Patterson account. Real rising star." "She seems nice," Elena said. "Yeah, the firm's lucky to have her." Elena stared out the window and said nothing. In less than 24 hours, Ryan's carefully constructed world was going to collapse, and she was going to be the one holding the detonator. If you're hooked on this story, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment with your thoughts and smash that like button because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Monday morning arrived with deceptive normalcy. Ryan made coffee, kissed Elena goodbye, and told her he'd be home by 7. Elena waited exactly 15 minutes after his car disappeared, then grabbed her purse and drove straight to Patricia's office. The emergency filing was already prepared. Elena signed her name over and over, each signature feeling like taking back something Ryan had stolen. Petition for dissolution of marriage, motion for asset preservation, request for forensic accounting, restraining order preventing any further asset transfers. The sheriff will serve him at his office around 11. Are you somewhere safe? I'm staying with Jenna. I packed a bag last night after Ryan fell asleep. Good. Keep your phone on. And Elena, whatever happens today, remember that you did this the right way. You protected yourself. Elena drove to Jenna's apartment and waited. 11 o'clock came and went. Noon, she imagined the sheriff walking into Ryan's office, imagined the expression on his face when he realized what was happening. Her phone rang at 12:30. It was Ryan. She let it go to voicemail. He called again, immediately. Then again, then a text came through. What the hell did you do? Then another. We need to talk now. Then you're making a huge mistake. Jenna sat next to her on the couch. Don't respond. Let Patricia handle it. He's calling again. I know. Don't answer. But Elena looked at the screen and saw 17 missed calls in 10 minutes. Then her phone buzzed with a voicemail notification. Against her better judgment, she played it on speaker.
Elena, what are you doing? Ryan's voice was tight, controlled, but she could hear the fury underneath. A sheriff? Really? You couldn't even talk to me first? Call me back. We need to fix this before you embarrass both of us. Embarrass him, Jenna muttered. That's what he's worried about. The calls continued all afternoon. Ryan, his mother, his brother, even his colleague Mark, asking if Elena was okay and could he help facilitate a conversation. She blocked them all except Ryan's number, which Patricia had told her to keep open for documentation purposes. At 4 p.m., Patricia called. He showed up at my office with his lawyer. They want to talk settlement. Already? He's panicking. The asset freeze means he can't touch anything right now, and I don't think he expected you to move this fast. His lawyer is Dennis Morrison, which tells me something interesting. What does it tell you? Morrison specializes in quick, quiet divorces for executives who don't want publicity. He's very expensive and very good at making problems disappear. The fact that Ryan hired him means your husband has been planning this longer than we thought. You don't get Dennis Morrison on retainer overnight. Elena felt cold. How long has he been planning to leave me? Based on the documents we found, at least 6 months, maybe longer. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about 6 months ago, last summer. They'd gone to her parents' anniversary party. Ryan had given a toast about lasting love and commitment. They'd danced in her parents' backyard, and he'd whispered that he loved her. 2 weeks later, according to the timeline Tyler had constructed, Ryan had opened the first secret bank account. Tuesday morning brought another call from Patricia. The forensic accountant found something. Can you come in? The accountant's name was David Chen, and he had the tired eyes of someone who'd seen too many people try to hide money. He spread printouts across Patricia's conference table. Your husband has been systematically draining your joint accounts, David said without preamble. Small amounts at first, 500 here, 1,000 there, transferring to accounts in his name only. Over the past 8 months, he's moved approximately $83,000. Elena stared at the numbers. 83,000? How did I not notice? Because he was smart about it. He timed the transfers to coincide with your paycheck deposits, so the account balance always looked roughly the same. And he was patient, never took so much at once that it would trigger alerts or raise red flags. Can we get it back? Most of it, yes. That's why Patricia filed the asset freeze. But there's more. David pulled out another sheet. He took out a home equity line of credit $60,000 3 months ago against the house. He what?
forged your signature on the application. The money went into an account we're still tracing, but my guess? He's been funding his new life, possibly Kira's expenses too." Elena felt like she was falling. How much money are we talking about total? David exchanged a glance with Patricia. Between the transferred funds, the home equity line, and some credit cards he opened in both your names that you don't know about $140,000, give or take. 140,000? Elena's voice didn't sound like her own. We've been married 7 years and he stole $140,000 from me. From both of you, technically, Patricia corrected. He took marital assets without your knowledge or consent. That's fraud, and it's going to destroy any credibility he has in front of a judge. That afternoon, Ryan finally stopped calling and started texting. Long paragraphs about misunderstandings and overreactions, about how they could work this out if she'd just be reasonable, about how she was listening to the wrong people and making decisions based on emotion instead of logic. "Elena, we've been together for 7 years.
Doesn't that mean anything to you?" She wanted to scream. Wanted to text back that apparently it hadn't meant anything to him when he was forging her signature and stealing her money. Instead, she forwarded every message to Patricia and said nothing. Wednesday brought the first real confrontation. Elena needed clothes from the house, things she hadn't grabbed in her hasty packing Sunday night. Patricia advised bringing Tyler along as a witness. They arrived at 2 p.m. when Ryan should have been at work, but his car was in the driveway. "Want me to go in first?" Tyler asked. "No, it's my house." They walked in together, and Ryan was sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop open. He looked up when they entered, and Elena saw something she'd never seen before in his eyes: pure rage. "You brought backup?" Ryan said, not taking his eyes off Elena. "You're in your own house, and you need someone to protect you from me?" "I need a witness," Elena said, proud that her voice stayed steady. "I'm here to get my things." "Your things, right, because apparently everything in this house is yours now, according to your lawyer. Everything in this house belonged to both of us, or it did until you started forging my signature on documents." Ryan stood up slowly. "I never forged anything." The handwriting analyst disagrees. So does the notary who never actually notarized those documents, even though her stamp appears on them. She watched him process that, watched him realize how much she knew. His face changed, the mask finally slipping. "You set me up," he said. "That whole Portland trip. You were never gone, were you? You were watching me. I was protecting myself." "Protecting yourself? From what? I've given you everything. This house, a comfortable life, everything you could want. And this is how you repay me? By accusing me of fraud?" Tyler stepped forward slightly, a subtle movement that put him between Elena and Ryan. Ryan noticed and laughed bitterly. "Unbelievable. You really think I'd hurt you after everything we've been through?" "I think you already have hurt me," Elena said, "multiple times, in multiple ways, and I think you'd keep doing it if I'd stayed quiet." "Stay quiet? You didn't even give me a chance to explain." "Explain what? Explain Kira? Explain the $83,000 you stole? Explain why my signature appears on documents I never saw? Please, Ryan, I'm listening. Explain." He opened his mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. "Kira is a colleague, that's all. Whatever you think you saw, you're wrong. I have video of her in our house, on our couch, drinking our wine. We had a work meeting at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday in our living room. You're being paranoid, and I'm guessing you're being investigated for fraud, so I guess we're both having a bad week." Ryan slammed his hand on the table, making them both jump. "You want to destroy everything we built? Fine, but don't pretend you're some innocent victim here. You gave up on us. You didn't even try to save this marriage." Elena felt something break loose inside her. 7 years of swallowing words and smoothing things over and making herself smaller to keep the peace.
You gave up? Ryan, you forged my signature 6 months ago. You opened secret accounts. You moved money. You transferred our house into your name only. When exactly in that timeline was I supposed to magically know to fight for a marriage you were already burning down? I was protecting our assets. Our assets? There is no our anymore. You made sure of that when you put everything in your name. And you know what the saddest part is? You're not even sorry. You're just mad you got caught. She brushed past him. Tyler followed and went upstairs to pack. Her hands shook as she pulled clothes from drawers, threw shoes into a bag, grabbed jewelry from the dresser. Behind her, she heard Ryan's footsteps on the stairs.
"You're really going to do this?" he asked from the doorway. "Destroy everything? Drag this through court? Make us both look like fools?" Elena zipped the suitcase and turned to face him. "You destroyed it already. I'm just refusing to help you hide the evidence." She walked past him and down the stairs. Tyler was waiting by the door with another bag he'd filled from the office. They left Ryan standing in the bedroom doorway, and Elena didn't look back. That evening, sitting in Jenna's apartment, surrounded by hastily packed bags, Elena felt something strange. Not belief exactly, not happiness, but something like clarity. Like she'd been looking at her life through frosted glass for years, and someone had finally wiped it clean. Her phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. "Preliminary hearing scheduled for next Monday. Judge Martinez. Get ready." Are you still watching? Hit that like button and let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen in court. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. You won't want to miss it. The weekend before the hearing, Elena barely slept. Patricia had prepared her as much as possible, walking her through what to expect, what questions might be asked, how to stay calm under pressure. But knowing something intellectually and living through it emotionally were different things entirely. Sunday night, Jenna made tea and sat across from Elena at the kitchen table. "You're going to be okay tomorrow," she said. "What if I'm not? What if I get up there and freeze? What if the judge doesn't believe me?" "Elena, you have documentation. You have evidence. You have proof of everything he did. The truth is on your side." "The truth doesn't always win." "It does, when you have a good lawyer and a forensic accountant who found 140,000 reasons why Ryan's a liar." Jenna reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "You've been brave this whole time. Don't stop now." Monday morning felt both fast and painfully slow. Elena dressed in a navy suit Patricia had suggested. Professional, but not aggressive. She met Patricia and David Chen outside the courthouse at 8:30. Tyler was already there, standing near the entrance like a quiet sentinel. "Ready?" Patricia asked. "No, but let's do it anyway." The courtroom was smaller than Elena expected, wood-paneled and formal, with fluorescent lights that made everything feel overexposed. Ryan was already seated at the defendant's table with Dennis Morrison, his expensive lawyer in an even more expensive suit. Ryan wore charcoal gray and a burgundy tie, the one Elena had bought him for Christmas 2 years ago. He looked good, composed, like a man falsely accused, rather than a man caught red-handed. He didn't look at her when she walked in. Judge Martinez was a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and reading glasses perched on her nose. She reviewed the documents in front of her with the careful attention of someone who'd seen every trick in the book and wasn't impressed by any of them. "This is a preliminary hearing regarding emergency asset preservation," Judge Martinez began. "Ms. Morgan, you filed on behalf of the petitioner. Please proceed." Patricia stood, and Elena was struck by how commanding she was. "Your Honor, this case involves systematic financial fraud perpetrated by the respondent against the petitioner over a period of 8 months.
We have documentation showing forged signatures on property transfers, unauthorized account openings, and the theft of approximately $140,000 from marital assets. Dennis Morrison stood. Your Honor, these are serious allegations being made without proper context. My client maintains that all financial decisions were made jointly and that any documentation discrepancies are clerical errors, not fraud.
Clerical errors? Patricia's voice could have cut glass. Your Honor, we have handwriting analysis from a certified expert showing the signatures are forgeries. We have testimony from a notary public stating she never notarized the documents in question, despite her seal appearing on them. We have bank records showing systematic transfers that the petitioner had no knowledge of. Judge Martinez looked at Ryan over her glasses. Mr. Mitchell, did you transfer the marital home into your name only? Dennis Morrison leaned over to whisper something, but Ryan spoke before his lawyer could stop him. The house was always going to be in both our names eventually. It was a temporary measure for tax purposes. Tax purposes, the judge repeated flatly. And did you discuss these tax purposes with your wife before transferring the deed? I didn't think I needed to explain every financial decision. We were married. I assumed there was trust. Elena felt Patricia's hand briefly touch her arm, a warning not to react. Mr. Mitchell, trust is not a substitute for consent in legal documents, Judge Martinez said. Miss Morgan, what else do you have? David Chen stood and methodically walked through the forensic accounting, the transfers, the timeline, the hidden accounts, the home equity line of credit. Every number, every date, every piece of evidence laid out like a prosecution building toward a verdict. Ryan's composure started to crack around the 20-minute mark. He leaned over to Morrison, whispering urgently. Morrison whispered back, but Ryan shook his head, clearly disagreed with whatever advice he was getting. Your Honor, said Morrison when David finished, my client admits that there were financial transactions his wife may not have been aware of, but this was due to miscommunication in the marriage, not malicious intent. Miscommunication doesn't forge signatures, Patricia said, and it doesn't open credit cards in someone else's name without their knowledge. Judge Martinez held up a hand. Mr. Morgan, does your client dispute the handwriting analysis? Morrison hesitated. We would need our own expert to review. That's not what I asked. Does your client dispute that these are not his wife's signatures? Another pause. Then Morrison said quietly, We're prepared to settle, Your Honor. I'm not asking about settlement. I'm asking if your client committed fraud, because that's what we're discussing here. Not a messy divorce, not miscommunication. Fraud, identity theft, forgery. Do you understand the difference? The courtroom was silent. Elena could hear her own heartbeat. Ryan stood up, ignoring Morrison's attempt to pull him back down. I was trying to protect what I'd built, what I'd earned. She wasn't contributing equally to the household, and I needed to make sure my assets were secure. Your assets? Judge Martinez's voice went cold. These are marital assets, Mr. Mitchell, and your wife's name is on the paychecks that contributed to them, regardless of what you think about her contributions. You don't get to unilaterally decide who owns what in a marriage. I built the life we had, the house, the investments, everything. She just coasted. Elena felt Patricia's hand on her arm again, but this time it wasn't a warning, it was solidarity. Mr. Mitchell, sit down, Judge Martinez said, before you make this worse for yourself. Ryan sat, but Elena could see the fury radiating off him. This wasn't how he'd planned for this to go. He had expected to charm his way through it, to explain everything away, to make her look paranoid and unreasonable. Instead, he was being held accountable, and he couldn't stand it. Judge Martinez reviewed her notes for what felt like an eternity. Then she looked up. I'm granting the emergency asset freeze. All accounts, properties, and assets are frozen pending forensic audit completion. Mr. Mitchell, you are enjoined from making any financial transactions beyond ordinary living expenses, and those must be documented. I'm also ordering you to provide complete financial disclosure within 14 days, including any accounts, credit cards, or assets not yet disclosed. Morrison was already standing. Your Honor, my client needs access to funds for legal representation, and your client should have thought about that before committing fraud. Motion granted. We'll reconvene in 30 days for a full hearing. And Mr. Mitchell? Judge Martinez looked directly at Ryan. I suggest you think very carefully about your next moves, because right now, you're looking at potential criminal charges in addition to divorce proceedings. Do you understand? Ryan's face was white. Yes, Your Honor. Good. We're adjourned. Outside the courthouse, Elena stood in the bright morning sun and felt the weight of 8 months lift slightly off her shoulders. Not gone, not entirely, but lighter. That went well, Patricia said. Better than well, actually. Judges don't usually come down that hard in preliminary hearings unless they see something egregious. What happens now? Now we wait for his financial disclosure. David will finish the audit, and we prepare for the full hearing. But Elena, you won. Not the case yet, but the first battle. You stood up, you fought back, and you won. Tyler appeared with coffee from somewhere, pressing a cup into Elena's hands. Jenna was right behind him, pulling her into a hug. I'm proud of you, Jenna whispered. Elena looked back at the courthouse, where Ryan and Morrison were standing on the steps in intense conversation. Ryan looked defeated in a way she'd never seen before. Part of her, a small part, felt sorry for him, but a larger part, the part that had been forged in the fire of the last 8 months, felt nothing but relief that she'd trusted her instincts. The next few weeks unfolded in a blur of legal proceedings, discovery, and depositions. Ryan's financial disclosure revealed 2 more accounts Patricia hadn't known about and confirmed what they'd suspected about Kira. Ryan had been paying for her apartment, her car, even her credit card bills, all with money he'd taken from the marriage. The full hearing came and went, and the judge's decision was swift and decisive. The house would be sold and proceeds split. The stolen money would be returned to Elena in full. Ryan would be responsible for all debt he'd incurred without her knowledge, and Patricia had already filed a separate report with law enforcement about the forgery. 3 months after that first Monday in court, Elena stood in Jenna's apartment packing her things. She'd found a new place, a small condo near downtown with huge windows and a view of the city. It was hers, only hers, and she'd signed every document herself. Are you really doing okay? Jenna asked, helping fold clothes into boxes. I am. Weirdly, genuinely okay. I kept waiting for it to hit me, you know? The grief, the loss, the sadness, but mostly what I feel is free. That's because you did the hard thing. You didn't just survive what he did to you. You fought back. You took control. Elena taped up a box and labeled it kitchen. I spent so many years trying to be what he wanted, trying to be enough. It never occurred to me that the problem wasn't me. It was him. It was always him. Her phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. Finalized. It's done. The divorce was final. 7 years of marriage, dissolved in a single signature. Elena's signature this time, on documents she'd read carefully and understood completely. That night, Elena sat in her new condo, surrounded by boxes, and felt something she hadn't felt in months, maybe years. Peace. Her story wasn't a fairy tale ending. There was no dramatic confrontation, no satisfying revenge moment where Ryan fell to his knees begging forgiveness. Real life didn't work like that. But there was justice. There was truth. There was a woman who'd learned to trust herself again, who'd learned that silence could be strategic and patience could be powerful. And sometimes that was enough. If this story resonated with you, I need you to do 3 things right now.
First, smash that like button. Second, drop a comment and tell me what you learned from Elena's journey. And third, subscribe to this channel because we share stories like this every week. Stories about real people finding strength in impossible situations, about justice served quietly but decisively, about knowing when to fight and how to win. Don't just watch these stories, be part of this community. Hit subscribe right now, and I'll see you in the next one.